This is Shades of Content, a podcast created for and featuring women of color who create and distribute content as a means to tell stories to the masses. I'm your host, Patrice Camo, owner of CAMPspace, and I'm passionate about giving diverse women creators a space to be awesome. Let's go.
Patrice, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am well. I was getting a little nervous. I said, I got a lot I can talk about, and we're gonna miss out on the good word from Patrice. But so give me pronounce your last name. I know you said a pronunciation, but I want to hear you pronounce your last name.
It's Camo. My husband is Haitian.
Camo. Okay, well,
yes.
I was pretty
not
close.
Too hard, yeah.
No, that's not. I mean, that's how you would sound. That makes sense. That's cool.
Exactly. Yep.
So you're free now. So I heard you got a little held up. So it's okay.
Yeah, and my daughter is here, so you might see her pop. You know, she's 3 years old and all over the place. But
no, I love kids. I love children. I'm a grandfather now, and of course I had daughters, so I love kids. Kids are. I mean, we get a chance to raise up this generation of kids who I think are going to have a tremendous impact on the world, based on what we pass on to them, you know. So
definitely.
So good stuff. Let's talk. I'm excited about talking to you. So CAMPspace. I mean, before I go back to your kind of bio piece, this CAMPspace is really interesting to me. Is it that I'm curious what inspired you to do it? I mean, I know you're a woman, and I know maybe the creative side of you may have had a lot to do with this, but what inspired you? First, tell people what it is.
Sure. So CAMPspace is a content creator studio, and our target customer is women of color, women like me.
Okay.
Anybody can use the space, and when I say content creator studio, I mean that it is a place where people can go or people can come, because I'm here now.
Right.
We're in the space right now.
Gotcha. Okay, nice.
But people can rent the space hourly to shoot their video, photo, podcast, live recordings, IG live, webinar, any type of content they need to shoot, they can do it here. It's private space, so when you rent it on your own. Nobody else is here. It is beautifully designed, if I may say so myself.
Yeah.
It's very clean. And so the space actually started as a co-work space. We opened in 2018 as a co-work studio because myself as a consultant and a remote worker, I didn't like that I had to always go to DC to have space to work. So I said that I would open my own space in Prince George's County, where I'm from. But about a year and a half in, I saw that the people that were using the space to just have photo shoots and host small workshop events, I was making more money from that.
Sure.
Because you think I was getting $200 per month from one co-work member versus somebody booking it for 1 hour or 2 hours for $200. It was like black and white.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense. Yeah.
I made the pivot, and here we are, because, in that I also learned that, people didn't have a space to shoot. Like, all these content creators were having to sneak around in hotel lobbies or be outside, just kind of weird opportunities to shoot the things that they needed to. And so I just decided to really kind of pivot the messaging and focus on content creation, but then deciding to focus on women of color, because I also know, as a woman of color content creator, that there were no spaces that talked to us. There was not this hub for these content creators. A lot of the times, the things that you see that go viral on social media, the memes, the dances, a lot of that stuff is created by Black women. And more often than not, we weren't getting the credit for it. We're misappropriated all the time. And so really saying that this is a space for women of color was very deliberate to say, I see what we're creating, and I want to make sure that my business supports that any way possible.
No, that's good stuff. I like that. I guess what I'm wondering, because I can't really see your space, but so do you have different, so like if I'm a content creator, and is there different scenes? Is there different setups in different spaces?
So it's so I'll kind of give you, if you can hear me, I'll give you like a little tour, right? So it's a very minimalist type of space.
Okay.
So you can come in here and we have a lot of natural light,
Right.
lots of light. You can come in and use the decor we have and have beautiful shoots. If you go to our Instagram page at CAMPspaces, I'll type it in the comments.
Okay.
You'll see a lot of the pictures there are just using the decor that we have. But, you know, if you want to move stuff out and bring your own stuff, you can. This used to be, when we were a co-work space, this was a conference room. Now it really serves as a changing room. So if you need to have your makeup done, if you need to change your clothes, you can do that in here. We have a full kitchen. And so a lot of chefs come through the space to shoot their brand videos, to do recipe videos. So that's one area. This is the podcast studio, which is something that I actually added last year. And so this is the only space that rents out separately. So if you wanted to record a podcast, you would pay a separate amount of money, but that comes with an engineer. So you come, all you do is record, and our engineer will get you back your episode fully edited within 2 days. And then there's also the backyard, which is my favorite. And, you know, so when you rent the space, you get the entire space from the front to the back. And, you know, I think, you know, I could have kind of created all these fun little places for people to take pictures, but I wanted it to really stay kind of neutral so that people could make it what they want. It's beautiful enough that you can use the stuff that's here, but you can make it your own. You can bring in your photo backdrops. We've had people shoot documentaries here. I mean, you name it, it's been shot here because it is so neutral.
Yeah, you made the pivot though. I guess that's a recent pivot. Like how recent?
So
recent,
I
right?
decided to make the pivot in the fall of 2019.
Right. Okay.
And that I credit that to the passing of Nipsey Hussle. I got really kind of into his teaching and figuring out, trying to think how my business could be vertically integrated. So how could I make it so that I'm touching my customers on as many levels as possible? And so that went to being a content creator studio. And then in March was when this change was really announced. I think it was maybe March 15th. And then COVID happened.
Right.
Which kind of made things super weird. But yeah, so it took me probably about 8 to 9 months for the pivot to really kind of take shape and for me to understand what I was trying to say. But like I said, I think I was serving content creators even before I knew it. When we were a co-work space, I just needed to start to pay attention to them.
Yeah, I think, you know, I love the fact that, you know, I think the challenge with entrepreneurs sometimes is we get married to something, you know, like we come in. I mean, if you look at the greatest entrepreneurs, what they started with is not where they are right now. Like their business is not usually, because they were smart enough to be able to pivot, or just in some cases, you know, it's an iterative process where you're constantly looking to see, you know, how to serve your customers better. You know, what do they need? Because at the end of the day, if you don't have them, you don't have a business. And just changing your revenue model. So that's excellent. That's awesome that you did that. So tell me what startup was like for you.
Okay, so I had the idea for CAMPspace as a co-work space in 2015. I've been a PR consultant for a very long time, and through me needing a space and then my clients needing a space, that's when the light bulb went off in 2015. 2016, I started to have these pop-up events to build a community, because in my belief, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how great you are at graphic design. If you don't have a community, you don't have anything. And so it really doesn't make sense to spend all this money if you can't even prove that your business matters to people. If your community doesn't care, then you really don't have anything. So I spent about 2 years building a community by having these pop-up co-work events, but also really trying to understand what this geographical community looked like. So I'm from Fort Washington, but I went to the University of Maryland for undergrad. And the Route 1 corridor is like a second home to me. So from College Park, where I live now, to Riverdale Park, to Berwyn Heights, to Hyattsville, where the business is, to Mount Rainier, I would have these pop-up events all along that Route 1 corridor while I was also building relationships with the local business associations, with the local businesses, with the politicians, also while trying to find a space. So all those things were happening at the same time. And then as far as money goes, I knew that I had to find a space that, well, let me take a step back. I had looked at a space that was a raw, beautiful space, and I just knew it was going to be mine. And it needed, like, you know, what was it, $200,000 to build out? That just was not a reality to me. And I personally didn't want to take on any loans. Like, that just didn't make sense to me. So I was thankful and blessed enough to have a space. The space we were in, I didn't find it. It actually came to me. The landlord reached out to me because they knew through those relationships I had built through that 2 years. She heard about me, and the kitchen was already here. The bathroom was already here. So I really didn't have to do anything but make it pretty. And so I pulled about $10,000 from my 401k. I got a family that, you know, decided to help support, and here we are. So I didn't have this huge startup budget, and that was what worked for me. I don't think I would want to build something, at least not right now, that would take a ton of money. But thankfully, regardless of how much I spent, I had a community there that was waiting for us to open. You know, when we had our grand opening, we were on the cover of the Hyattsville newspaper. Because they had heard about what was happening. There was this kind of, and I do credit that also to me having a public relations background. But, you know, all those things kind of work together to be able to come here and open.
No, that's good. So you created a buzz in the community, it sounds like, and the pop-ups they got pretty popular. I mean, pop-ups were just every kind of pop-up, from food to all kinds of vendors, just became extremely, you know, a cool way of doing business, as well as building a community. Has your community helped you to design your space, or no?
No.
No.
You know, I went in, and I don't say that as they weren't around. I don't think that I solicited that type of input.
Okay.
Not in the beginning, but now that the pivot, like now that everybody is very clear on what this business is, I have implemented and pushed out surveys to members of the community, content creators of color. I have sent emails literally just saying, what do you want? What do you need in the space? So, you know, it's my hope to always be having these two-way dialogues with my customers, current and potential, because, you know, times change, right? And you have to be able to, I think, stay true to your mission and stay true to your purpose, but you have to meet your customer and give them what they need. So, yeah.
No, that's good. So I'm curious, so how has COVID, like, what's been your strategy for COVID? Like, so like a lot of businesses are in COVID. They're not only in COVID right now, but they're also raising children. You know, some are married, you know, so it's a lot of balancing. Like even in church world, we see the exact same things where we, you know, you want people to serve, but everybody's, you know, they're teachers now, and, you know, they weren't teachers before, and kids are online. As an entrepreneur, how do you, you know, your husband's military, how do you manage all that? Like, what is your, do you have a philosophy behind balancing stuff, or what's your?
So yeah, I don't think balance. I don't think you can balance all these things at one time, right? I think holistically in your life, you can have a balanced life, right? So I love my family. They mean the world to me. I love my business. It means so much to me. I also love myself, and I have to do things that make me happy, that fill me. But most importantly, above all that, I love God. But all of the three things I mentioned before can't work if the relationship with him isn't right. Yeah. And if I'm not there spiritually, if my heart doesn't feel right. So making sure that I'm taking the time to, and I'm learning this, right? This is not how, it hasn't always been this perfect answer. Like it's definitely, it is a process, but really just listening to what God is telling me, whether it's business, whether it's personal, and honoring that. And then, you know, from a day to day, It's so funny. My husband said today, so I dropped my daughter off. I went to Bikram because Bikram is important. My body needs that. I went grocery shopping. I ran home, dropped everything off, came back, picked her up. And before I left, my husband said, "You're doing too much." And, he probably is right. I'm probably doing a little too much, but that's just how it is. But tomorrow, I don't have anything to do. Tomorrow's a cool day. We're going to get coffee, and I'm going to sit in the house and just send some emails. So that's just like how things go, and I think we set ourselves up when we assume or want things to be the same every day, or think that we're going to have this regimented schedule, because it doesn't always go like that. And when you have all the things going on, like I do, like a lot of my peers do, you just got to be able to roll with it. I think you have to like every Sunday, I open up my planner, my passion planner, and I map out the week as much as I can. You leave some room for things to kind of wiggle around, but you got to understand that it's not always going to work out the way you want it to. And I think also for me, what is helping me move forward is having like these overarching themes for what I want to accomplish for the month and for the week.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can plan it out, but understanding that it might not happen the day you plan it, but let's make sure the week doesn't go by without me accomplishing whatever that goal.
That makes sense.
So,
yeah.
The day-to-day can get tricky.
No, I understand. So tell me this, though. This is the thing. I mean, I'm going to get a little more personal. So tell me what brings you joy in all of this. I mean, like, out of all of, you do a lot of things, what sets your heart on fire?
There's a lot of things that bring me joy. I think, I know that from a business standpoint, being able to provide a space and a business that supporting women like me and giving them an opportunity to create and see all their thoughts and dreams come into fruition brings me a lot of joy.
No, that's good. And so in that, I want to ask you just the opposite. What breaks your heart the most?
I think this is business and personal. When I just had this conversation with my son, who's 13, and he's really like on it and tapped in, so I can have real conversations with him. Women are everybody's everything, but I personally never feel like I get that in return. And I don't think I can get mad at anybody for it, because I think I have to learn how to set boundaries and how to demand the same care and love and thoughtfulness that I give to others. I have to start demanding it for myself. So, I was saying to my son, I love my kids. I love my husband. I love, right? Like I love. Acts of service and gifts make me happy. But it also hurts my feelings when I feel like people aren't seeing me or aren't hearing me or aren't thinking about how that might make me feel the same way that I think about how everybody else feels. So that has definitely, brought me heartache. But as I just mentioned, I have to learn how to communicate what it is that I need on a personal and a professional level. And then just really stick to it. And so like this Sunday, and I said this last week, this Sunday, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to go work out, and then I'm going to go to a hotel and just stay and sleep, because I don't get to do that often with, kids and just so.
Yeah. I've heard that. I've heard the frustration before from other women that they feel like it's interesting because I'm trying to think of his name now. It's Nirel. He writes a book, and it slips my mind. Anyway, him and his wife did this thing where they, your reference wasn't necessarily to your husband. It was just in general. But in his case, him and his wife sat down and they wrote a list of all the things that they each did on a daily basis. And he said when he saw that list, he was like, whoa, I got to step my game up, So they started transferring their list to better balance that list. Now certainly there's some things that he just felt like he wasn't as equipped to do. He was willing to do them, but he just felt like, I'd have to do them the way that I can do them. I can't do them like you.
Right. How you.
Yeah. And so that sometimes is the challenge that that I certainly hear from men is, men I hear when it's related to men is what I hear is what's up, Michelle McKinney? I see
Hi,
you.
Michelle. Happy belated birthday.
Yes, yeah. Happy belated birthday. Yes. And Janelle, I see you. I saw you on here earlier. I think for men, sometimes the frustration can be that we can never do it right, and so I think to some degree, it's like, let us do it and let us, give us credit for doing it first.
Yeah.
And then, then maybe you can help us learn how to do it differently or better. And we'll never be like you. And the leaders are the same way. Leaders run into the same thing and it's hard to build a team when you expect everybody to do everything like you, as if your way is the only way or even the best way in some cases. So I'm certainly, you probably know that as well. So is your inside of your, I want to stay there for just a second on that side of it, because you mentioned obviously self-care, which I think is important. I don't think enough of us put enough emphasis on self-care. It's kind of the, it's the airplane model, of making sure that, you put your mask on and then your child's mask. So you go to a hotel, that's one of your ways of, I guess, renewing yourself. Is there any other ways that you use to renew yourself?
It's really at this point, just eating right and I have to sweat every day. So, sometimes that means just literally just going for a run in my neighborhood, or even just going for a walk and getting out. Like fresh air and sweat are like the holy grail to me. Like if I can work out outside, then I'm really happy. But
nice.
just fresh air and sun. The sun is so important to us and our skin and our mental. But also just sweating and releasing those toxins. Like whenever, like I know, like even, was it yesterday? No, because I worked out yesterday. There was one day and I didn't get my morning workout and my brain like this. And I said again to my son, because he's my twin, I said, I haven't worked out. That's why I feel like this. There has not been a release of this, toxins and just like this before. So those things are really important to me. I've started writing, I don't know if it's journaling, but just kind of like mapping out what I want my life to be or where I see things going. And that is just like, it's like when you think about all the things that you want out of life, and because everything is possible, every single thing is possible. So just, sometimes I think people's dreams scare them. That's not my reality, and I'm very thankful for that. My dreams just make me so excited, and just the hope of what is to come from where I've started to where I am now. Like those things, just that makes me really excited too. So like in my planner in the back, there's like this literally a map of like what happens here and how all the dots connect.
So it brings me to, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
That was it. Just those things. No. And my kids, that my kids are self-care, like spending time with my mom and, just going to my parents' house and, those things feed me also.
No, that's good stuff. So it leads me to two more questions here that I think are helpful. A little deeper dive here. Where do you see God in all this?
That's a good question. I think that God is, and this might sound cliche, I think he's in everything. Sure. But I say that I know that the fact that I was able to drive from my daughter's school to here safely is God. And, it could have went another way.
Sure.
And I think I'm starting to think about that a lot more now, not because I am like wishing on my, fatality or nothing like that, but it's really helping me see that the next second is not promised. So if God saw fit for me to be here and be having this conversation with you, Pastor Matthews, then there's some real beauty in that. And so that is when I say in everything, that is really what I mean. Like him deciding to let it go one more second, one more week, I'm thankful.
Nice.
And I appreciate and I see the value in it, because I know a lot of people who who didn't see, God God was ready for them.
Yeah.
And so he made the decision. But then also I think there's just this I'm so thankful that I think that right now in my life, I don't know if this will be my mission 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but right now I know this is where I'm supposed to be. I have no question in my mind that everything, God orchestrated all of these things to work out, where my business is around the corner from my husband's high school, from where my son plays basketball, around the corner from my parent, like down the street from my college. Like I would drive past this place all the time and had no idea. I wasn't thinking about this business. It was owned by somebody else. And so it's just really awesome when you kind of just like listen to what he's telling you and just like go in that way. And it might seem crazy. It might really seem really crazy. And to get, not to, well, to get personal, because I'm a very honest person. So this idea of having a space was always kind of just in the atmosphere, but I didn't say it to be, I didn't make it really come to fruition until it was September 9th. And I had a miscarriage. And so the procedure was on the 9th, and 9 is a very important number to me. But then the next day I went to Bikram. I did something for myself because I was just so sad. That was just really a heartbreaking thing for me. And that in Bikram was when I said, I'm going to open my space. And through that loss came this. And so I just think it's so important for people to like really listen to what it is, that pay attention to what makes you smile. Pay attention to like everybody's life is, the road is leading to something. The path is leading to something that is so uniquely for you. And I think it's so easy to ignore it, or to think that you're not good enough, or to think that, I don't even feel like doing that, or to be too lazy to make it work. But I think we got to like really wake up. And I had a lot of people tell me no. Before I got the space, mind you, the landlord called me.
Right. And
then I did my credit. She ran my credit. I had the money. I had everything. And she told me no. She gave it to somebody else. Right? Yeah.
What?
She sure did. And I was sad. Like, wow. But I knew that. No, I said no. This is, God wants this for me. And so I got to finagling, had my homegirl who's a realtor call and make some calls. And so here we are. But
nice.
You just got to keep going.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question along that same line. So how do you handle trials? So when you're facing trials, not temptations, a trial could lead to a temptation, but just, God puts things before us for a reason. I call them God's prescription for maturity, but how do you handle trials?
I think initially I get like, I'm ready to pop off. Like, I'm mad. And then I talk to my husband. He is really my voice of reason in helping me just chill out. And then I'm able to hopefully kind of reverse engineer some things and figure out what's the lesson in it, right? So what are we figuring out here? What are we trying to figure out here? And that can be personal and professional. Because like trials come trials can come every day. It's life, right? But I think we have to remember there's no, what are we celebrating if we don't have trials? And so we have to appreciate, we have to figure out a way. And I know it's so much easier said than done, right? Because when you're in it, ain't nobody trying to celebrate a darn thing.
No doubt.
It's like, what message is in this for me to learn? Like, where, what am I doing? So through COVID and not being able to, COVID didn't pay. We didn't have customers for 2.5 months, right? We made money from people coming through the space. And through that insane, really serious trial, I'm like, dang, this sucks. But now I got to figure out some other streams of revenue, because relying on people to come through the space is not smart if that's the only way we're making money. And I'm still figuring that out. But that trial, very serious global trial, helped me kind of think through, and helped a lot of business owners, I'm sure, figure out how to move forward much smarter, you know,
Yeah.
long run. So.
No, that's good. I think, I think trials are God's prescription, I said, for our success. So I think if we look at it that way, we're not so much mad about it. We're trying to think, okay, so I'm supposed to be learning something out of this. I'm looking back, looking at current situation, looking forward, and thinking through, what's the wise thing to do. So, I'm grateful to pretty much what you said in so many words. You said the same thing, which is great. I love that, particularly for entrepreneurs, because it can be, people in general can get stuck. You can just get stuck. Like, you can spend all your time asking why.
Yeah.
And if that won't stick you, because you may not have an answer to it. We don't have an answer really to COVID, or why. But if we believe God's sovereign, I'm sure Job was asking why, like, why me? Supposedly I'm this great man of God, and then God's going to allow this to happen to me. I'm sure he asked why, in his mind, he had to ask why. So I'm grateful for that. That's cool that you, sounds like you are solving trials. You're pivoting, or not pivoting so much, but trying to find other streams of revenue. Sometimes our customers, our users will tell us, who are even not using currently, of what they've turned to. Sometimes it could become another stream of revenue for us. So sometimes you got to, like, hey, so tell me what you all are doing now. That's really helpful. And usually they're willing to tell, whatever that is. And they're probably loyal to you. So if they're doing it with somebody else, they would probably easily pivot back to you, to do it. So I think it's just wise to do that. Tell me what inspires you. I got a few more minutes. Tell me where you get your inspiration from.
A few things. I think every day, just like seeing all the dope things that people create. Social media wears my nerves, okay? But it's just it's a platform that allows you to be connected with so many people that you would have never had the opportunity to be connected to. And very often I learn about somebody, typically a woman, who is just blows my mind with whatever it is she does. So a few days ago, it was an artist based out of California. There are these young content creators and influencers who are just the most creative people I've ever seen. And I'm like, dang, if I was like that at 24, oh my gosh, because they're so young. It's just like,
right. Oh, trust me, I know.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And that inspires me, like, just they're out of this world. I think
that's good.
The plans for the future always inspires me. Like I said, figuring out or thinking through what I want my life to look like. I have some goals, and that is going to inspire me enough to keep it going. And then also, like, figuring out what I want. And I think this is probably the most, what are people going to say about me when I'm not here? Mm-hmm. And we dictate. I don't care what anybody says. You dictate what people say about you. Mm-hmm. You give them the script, all of what you do, and how you make them feel. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately, because, like we said, life is fragile, and every second is an opportunity to be. Every second is an opportunity to just, like, live in the best way that's possible for you, so.
Yeah, no, that's good. I find it interesting that God opened the Bible up with showing us his character of being creative. If you think about it, that was the way that's what he showed us first. But sometimes us as believers are the least creative. It's so strange. Like, we have the ultimate gift of being, we're made in the image of the ultimate creator, right? But then we're so freaking stiff and stale sometimes. It's just so strange to me. And I don't care how you wired. It's not about wiring. I'm saying you have it in you. It's just, maybe it plays out in mathematics, or maybe it plays out in something. It doesn't have to play out in digital media or whatever. It plays out in a lot of ways. But I think we undersell ourselves. We undervalue who we are and what God. I feel like we are hiding behind something. I don't know. Often, and sometimes it's fear. Sometimes it's relationships. Just a lot of things. So listen, this was cool. I'm so glad that I got to talk to you. Wish we could continue. I have so many questions I want to ask you. I'm gonna have to visit. Hopefully, I get a chance to visit your space.
Yes,
That would be super dope. I really want to see. Obviously, I want to see all entrepreneurs succeed, particularly believers. Because I think it's the way that we can glorify God through. He doesn't want us to be weak or broke or any of that, if we have the opportunity. So I do want to, I'm hoping that, all entrepreneurs are successful. I mean, Zion itself is somewhat of an entrepreneurial church.
definitely.
So many entrepreneurs go to Zion. It's almost like a leg. I think Michelle McKinney always says, it's like, man, we just need this leg where it's an entrepreneurial side of Zion, because there are so many who go there. So, but your space is, it's really cool. I love the pivot you made, not being so married to where you were before, that you made that pivot, and just being inspired. I think the one thing that believers can miss sometimes is you need inspiration. It's not copying. Like I go to look at other pastors' messages. I go to look at other innovators, other entrepreneurs. Steve Jobs said it himself. He said, I don't know if I would coin it this way, but he says, he basically postures innovation as stealing, but it's not really stealing in that sense. There's nothing new under the sun. It's combined differently, So in a sense, we're passing small components off and blending them differently. That's really what we're doing. A motherboard is made of components that somebody else designed, that they made up between some other molecules that all lead back to what God created at the end of the day. So none of us really own it, though we do have, certainly patents and copyrights and all that stuff. So, but so cool stuff. Keep pushing. Like, if we can help you, reach out. I mean, I love the fact that you are, women are really challenged. I feel like in this time, with our leadership currently, in our world, just not, whether it's, I hear it from women. So I can, I'm not a woman. I can hear it from women who express some of their concerns and not being, I don't even know that they want to be treated equal. They want what's due, right? So it's a difference between, God didn't make us equal, right? So
exactly. We all have our roles.
We all have our roles, but if I'm doing the same job you're doing, in some cases doing it better, if I'm doing it better, I should be getting paid more if the job is if all things equal. So that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. And then none of these women on these boards, none of these women leading these, and the companies, if you look at the stats, the companies who have them, who have the diversity, are amazing. Companies who have them, I was reading something recently about that. But anyway, that's a whole nother tangent. I could
go on about that.
I'm sure you can. I have daughters, so, it's certainly, I want them to be super valued by their husbands as well as the world. So you have to fight for some things until you get there. You can't just say, well, I'm a woman. It's like, no, because you're a woman.
I'm a woman.
Right, exactly. So we see strong women in the Bible, so, we certainly can't do that. What's Michelle said? Bring her back for the, oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I actually want to have a group discussion. We'll probably do it on a different platform.
That would be cool.
So we'll work it out. Praying for much success for your business. Like I said,
so much.
Reach out if I can, if you post something, tag me, I'll forward it, whatever. So I like what you're doing. No problem. So you posted, how do people find you? How do they?
Yes. So I'm going to put in the comments. So please follow us. Obviously, my name is @PatriceCamo on Instagram. My website is patricecamo.com.
Okay.
But if you want to learn anything about camp, definitely follow camp and I'm typing it right now, which is why I'm not looking at the camera, @CAMPspaces with an S. That's on Instagram, Facebook, as well as Twitter.
Okay.
And it's campworkspace.com. Now, if you click our bio link in our Instagram, you will get, you'll get the website, you'll get how you can book, you'll get all that stuff. So yeah, at Camp Spaces on Instagram, definitely follow us.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for posting it. Yeah, let me know how I'm praying for you. For success in motherhood and wife and all that good stuff.
All that. Parker, you want to say bye? She's uninterested. Okay.
So Parker, thank you for joining us. That was
eating her french fries. All right.
Okay, we'll talk. Take care.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Shades of Content is brought to you by and recorded at CAMPspace, a content creator studio for women of color. To learn more, visit www.campworkspace.com.